Then a few words about the budgeting during the application phase. If I'm going too fast, just play pause so you have enough time to read those slides. I'm trying to be as slow as possible. Okay, then some general things to keep in mind about budgeting. First of all, be realistic. I have heard a few times a question that how much money they can have or get, or how big the budget can be. The right question is that how much funding do you really need? These costs must be linked to the activities of the project. Sort of the project plan and the budget must have clear connection. The activities and costs must be linked to each other. And about this budget file, it's been sent to us as an annex, so please remember to add the project code at the top so it won't get lost during the negotiation or during the reporting phase. And if there are some bigger items, etc. in the budget, and if it's any kind of possible, include the description, the name of the partner organization for which the budget item is located to. And also, if there are any possibility with the bigger items or bigger costs, you can also add the output in which that cost is linked to. So it would give us a much clearer picture of the project and the costs. And here's the available cost types. They are pretty much the same as before, but there are some updates. The budget line 3, equipment and supplies, and the budget line 7, investments, are not available in this call for proposal. This mainly because the implementation time is only 1 year, and therefore it's quite short, and therefore there shouldn't be any need to buy any equipment for the project personnel or to make any bigger investments. And of course we have two kind of project types available: development projects and capitalization projects. And this cost types number 6, administrative costs, are not available for capitalization projects. This is because these capitalization projects are being paid as a lump sum. Then some information about the budget line number 1, staff. And there's also more information available in our program manual, page 59. Well, this is basically the cost related to activities which the project partners would not carry out without the project. So this is the salary for the persons working inside the project organizations. Their salaries and compulsory social charges. The basic unit used in the budget is monthly salary. And the work must be based on a written employment contract or some kind of official documents. And this salary rate must follow the normal salary rate of each organization. That means that there cannot be any kind of project extras or anything like that. And of course the salary is based and paid on national currency. And here's some example how this cost could be presented in the budget. In this example, the implementation time of the project seems to be 24 months. Therefore, there's a full-time project manager, 100%, unit is per month, and he or she is working for 24 months. The part-time project manager is working for 25%, therefore it means that he or she works 6 months. This doesn't mean that this part-time must work 25% in every month. He or she can work like 50% on one month and some 10% on the other. This 25% for this part-time is being calculated during the whole implementation time. So there can be different working percents in different months. Then the budget line number 2, travel. These are the project personnel's travels that are being needed while implementing the project activities, and mainly all the costs linked with these trips that are needed. Accommodation, visa costs, travel, taxi, and etc., car mileage, and of course daily allowances also. The passports are ineligible, but visa costs are eligible. And of course, during these corona times, if there's some needs for tests before the travel, those costs are also eligible. These travel costs related to seminars organized by the managing authority. This is sort of all the information. I'm pretty sure there won't be any face-to-face seminars during this project in this call, unfortunately. And here's some example how this cost can be presented in the budget sheet. There's some travel units, could be so some visa cost linked with this travel. Unit is per visa, and there's 10 visas needed, and unit rate is 70 euros. Then the final cost is 700, and etc. The main idea is that there's a clear information that who is traveling and where and how this travel is being made. Also, if possible, you can add information that in which output this travel is linked, and etc. Then the budget line number 4, small scale investments. The information in our manual is 66. These are the tools and devices related to the activities and output of the project. It means that these things are not being used by project personnel. These are more like used by the target group, and there's an example of output. The output is a classroom, so all the material, computer, furniture, and etc. are seen as a small scale investments, and I'm pretty sure that this classroom is being used by the target group. So all the equipment and supplies during the previous project are not seen as an eligible, because as I told before, the implementation time for this project is maximum 1 year, so there shouldn't be any need to buy any kind of equipment for the project staff. And here's some example small scale investments. There's a water pump, a unit is per pump, so there's one pump needed, which costs 800 euros, and the final cost is 800 euros, and so on and so on. You can also, and I hope you do, also add the information that in which output these costs are linked while you are reporting these costs. And then the budget line number 5, external expertise and services. Manual page 68. Sometimes there are some works that need to be done and they cannot be done by the project personnel or project staff. Therefore, there must be some external expert or external service provider. The main thing is that these costs are foreseen in the budget. They are based on written contract and they are paid against invoices. This means that these organizations must be external, because any kind of business between inside the project consortium is not allowed. So these are clearly some kind of external experts. And here's some kind of example how this cost can be presented in the budget. So and of course, if possible, you can add that in which output these external expertise are linked, if that information is known or can be present visible, clear. And then budget line number 6, administrative costs, manual page 69. There are costs that are linked to project implementation and they are being funded by the flat rate basis. It means that these costs are sort of opened during the negotiation phase, and the maximum is 7% of the subtotal cost of the project. These are sort of daily running costs: office rent, heating, electricity, accounting, etc. And after you have sort of opened these costs during the negotiation phase, these costs won't be challenged anymore, and this 7% will be paid automatically during the payments. And do remember, this budget line number 6, administrative cost, is not available in capitalization projects. And then about finance. The maximum project funding is 90%. It means that minimum of own contribution is 10%. This 10% is being calculated on a project level. So it doesn't mean that every party must take exactly 10% of own contribution. It means that this 10% must fulfill it on the project level. And how it been sort of realized. The project is reporting the eligible cost for us. All the eligible costs are 100%, and we are paying according to funding percent, 90%. That 10% is being seen as their own contribution. That's simple as that. And then about value added tax, manual page 57. Its procedure is quite clear. If the organization can recover the value added tax, you made the budget without the value added tax. And if the organization cannot recover the value added tax, it remains as a final cost for them, then they are making the budget with the value added tax. And if you're sort of uncertain, the local tax authority will know the situation. Then some accounting models, and to remember that these accounting models are linked only for those development projects, because those capitalization projects, there's no need any kind of financial reporting. So there's a decentralized model, and this is the most common and primary model. It means that every partner is seen as a reporting partner, and the external audit is done for every partner with every financial report. But then there are some situations when there are some smaller partner organization, project organizations which have only some minor costs. The costs are only salary and travel costs. Then there's no any need or any sense to make external audits, because sometimes the cost of the external audit can be bigger than the actual costs. Then these smaller partners can act as an invoicing partner. It means that they are sending an invoice to a reporting partner about their cost, and the reporting partner is reporting the cost to us. And remember that the invoicing partner and the responsible reporting partner must be from the same country. All right. Hopefully this presentation make some things a bit more clear. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to send an email to us. So my last word is thank you.